Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about the topic being free from identity. And to me, truly, that was the core of my initial awakening. For me, it was always a battle of becoming the character. So before awakening, I was really split. I was very fragmented of the different ego aspects. I was really harshly rejecting some parts of myself that was not accepted in my mind. And I was trying to create a persona, not consciously. This was an unconscious process. I was trying to create a persona that would be acceptable. And in that process, I learned that it was a prison anyway, like either way, who I became, no matter like how perfect that persona became, if I had a success, for example, or I got what I wanted or something like that, it was always a dead end. Because I remember, for example, I was overweight when I was younger, and I lost weight. And I harshly rejected the overweight version of me, which was a mental persona that I rejected, and I took on a different persona that I wanted to be. That was tougher, more masculine, and also like thin. And that was a big internal fragmented split of one that I really rejected and one that I was aiming to be. And if I got the results that I wanted, it was still, at some level, I knew it was inauthentic. At some level, I could sense, I couldn't fully believe the egoic persona that I created, a persona that I had created to protect myself. So, or to fit in, or to be accepted, or whatever we do in this human world. So I could never fully, truly believe it. I knew at some level it was a fabrication of my mind. So, and as I got to create that persona, and I felt like I had sort of managed to become a better version of me, which in a sense is good, you know, in the personal development space and everything. But the moment you create a better version of you, you reject another part of you. And none of that are really you. They're all mental ideas. They're all egoic aspects. You are none of those. You are experiencing them. And they don't have any absolute reality unless you believe they do. They don't exist out there. They only exist on the screen of your mind. All right? So awakening is becoming free of that, of identity, and realizing that you don't have to identify with a character of the mind. And some of these are really obvious, like if you let go of identities that are tied to something you did, something I like a preference you have, you know, like, or age, or something that is very superficial. But we have more subtle layers of identity that is usually very tied to our subconscious emotions, like our shadow self or our unconscious mind, which, for example, if you felt strong shame, that you have a trauma of shame, you can live that out, like you can express that as an identity. You don't know where it comes from, and it can be really hard to release, but it's usually very emotional. Like the core is emotional, which and in that sense, if you have a core wound of shame, which I believe we all do at some level, because it's very, very human to feel shame. And if you do that, you will find reasons to validate it. Even if there's nothing to be ashamed of, you will find reasons to be ashamed because you're not aware of the energy that is attracting shameful thoughts. All right. So when we wake up, we realize that we're not identities. We realize that we're not the story of the mind. And that's freedom. To me, that was true freedom, to realize that I didn't have to play that role. It was a fabrication and I could let it go. And that can be really challenging somehow also, because we protect ourselves in these identities, in roles and characters. This is me, right? There's a sense of stability, and it can be a dark night of the soul, or a sense of a free fall, a free falling after awakening, because we don't have the ground to stand on anymore. We can't hide, or protect ourselves by behind the mask anymore. So we're pure, we're authentic, we're real. It's really hard to be fake after awakening. But of course, we can also, which is very common, experience a spiritual identity. That's very common, that it appears after awakening, and then you realize what has happened to you. That's the same mechanism going on in a different form. So the spiritual ego. So true freedom is in the moment, the present moment, and you realize that your thoughts are just thoughts. There's no actual potent reality to them unless you believe in them, right? Unless you give that to them, unless your consciousness is subscribing to those thoughts, and you can unsubscribe. So something that I realized, which I think made me wake up at some level, was that I was never free in identity. No matter how great I could create an identity, no matter how perfect or successful I created that identity, it was more prison. It was more suffering. Yeah. And I always deeply knew internally that I was protecting myself from my own pain. So yeah, true freedom is letting go of identity. It requires courage and also authenticity, and also conscious awareness of the mental process. So with this video, I want to invite you to recognize your own search for identity, your own attachment to identity. And I want to invite you into the present moment, where none of that can truly exist as an absolute reality. And until next time, namaste.